Hey guys, welcome to Jet Live. We have an awesome, amazing session today, meeting, whatever you want to call this, Zoom thing. We've got Elianna Rosenschein and Abby Ellis with us. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Let me just get back to the Facebook page in case anybody writes anything.
So weird to suddenly feel like we have an audience.
I know, right?
We were talking for a few minutes and it was fine, and now like people are watching.
Yeah, people might be watching. We hope.
Maybe not now, maybe later.
Exactly. So yeah, we were just talking for a few minutes beforehand, which was really awesome. And there we are. Okay, I'm gonna do all the technical stuff that I do to make this happen. Takes a few minutes, even while we're live, which is okay. All right, so guys, welcome. Thanks for joining. How are you
Thanks for having
doing?
us.
Good.
That's a really loaded question. We'll start from there.
No, I think, okay, we're like almost 60 days into this. I'm almost 60 days into this.
Yeah.
It's strange. I had my boss texted me this morning to see how my weekend was, and I was like, I genuinely didn't like it all blends, like every day blends. The difference is that like on weekend days I don't set my alarm, but I'm still up around the same time. Just like technically speaking, I could sleep in if I wanted, but the rest of my day looks very similar. So
that's good. Yeah, it's interesting working from home. If you've done it beforehand, it's not really so much of a change in your home setting necessarily. Or as Elianna was mentioning before.
I just realized I just realized that we're coming on 60 days, and I've been 3 places since this whole thing started, and one of them was Abby's house. I'm counting that trip to get the challah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So trips to Abby's.
I'll have my challah that week.
Yeah, Abby makes amazing challah. And other amazing baked goods.
I was gonna say CB's like popped over with the dog a few times, just like randomly knocked at my door, and so I've always just kind of sent baked goods every time he's come.
The dog Dallas just dragged me there. He's just like, let's go. We have to go visit Abby.
Love it.
He's a mind of his own. So you guys have worked on a bunch of shows backstage, and I understand Dina was telling me, Elianna, that you've been in a couple of shows on stage as well. So
yeah.
I know Abby has done a few big roles in the past year at least. Measure for Measure and then Steel Magnolias. It's like 2 Emmys in one. Elianna, you want to tell us a little bit about your stage experience before we get to backstage?
Sure. There's a lot to tell. I think the last time I was technically on stage was 2011 in Carousel. Yeah, I was in the course of a few encore shows. I did Oklahoma and Fiddler on the Roof and Carousel. I think just those 3. That's pretty much all there is to tell. I very quickly realized that wasn't my thing.
Were you ready? Were you working backstage as well at the time? Or you just, what made you switch to stage manager, the stage manager role, or were you doing that as you were also on stage?
Yeah, it was around the same time. It overlapped a little bit. I started working backstage when we did 13 with Milkaz Magshimim back in 2010.
Heard that was an awesome show.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was a great experience. And I just started out like really helping with auditions and then just helping with rehearsals, and it grew from there. And I was part of that whole production, and then Grease and what became the Encore Youth shows and what became Starcatcher. Yeah. Cool. Also, I'd worked with other theater companies like Jest and J-Town when it became a thing.
Right. Started in like 2011, 2012, something like that.
Yeah,
And,
Spelling Bee.
and Abby, you've done stage managing also, or you're more like you do a lot of amazing props.
Thank you.
I remember the Paraguas from the Heights.
I was gonna say, I think that's gonna be my claim to fame forever and for always in the Jerusalem theater community. But no, I mean, since coming here to Israel, or like really more specifically to Jerusalem, because I was here for a few years before I got involved in theater again, I've done like all of it really. I stage managed for J-Town. I was supposed to stage manage for Starcatcher's Pippin, but then Elianna stepped in for me because I got sent on a business trip and I wasn't available anymore very last minute. It was very stressful for all of us. I did costumes for She Loves Me at J-Town, which was just up in the fall of this past year. I've done lights, helping out with all of that stuff, props, and just other general production stuff with J-Town and with Starcatcher, and then I've performed with J-Town and with Theater in the Ref.
Awesome. I just want to point out that Eleanor Kaufman is saying hello.
Hi.
Hi.
And Marty Weisel is like, oh my God, my favorite people. If you guys have any questions,
Marty's our
please
favorite
feel free
person.
to ask. He's awesome. He's actually joining us tomorrow.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah. We have a great lineup coming up. I'll tell more about that when we're finishing up. So what is it? What's it? I mean, I've thought about stage managing. I've done a lot of different roles as well in the theater community. What does it take? Like how, like, do you have to put on like what do you call it? The 2 minutes, please. I'm just gonna say it, the bitchy voice. Is that what you have to do to get things done, or like, is it like really how do you say? I can't. You guys describe it. I don't even know what I'm describing. What's like what's it about? Like, we all go on stage and do our thing, and we could talk about acting later and tons of different how that works. But like stage managing, it's like a mystery to a lot of people about like really what goes into it all. There's so many different hats that you guys got to wear, I'm sure, during the whole entire production. Want to talk about
I think there's because we're community theater, and a lot of it is sort of one person doing a few jobs, or whoever's there being in charge of whatever it needs doing. So it incorporates a lot of different jobs and different areas of responsibility. The last few years, as Abby said, I sort of returned to theater with Pippin after taking a few years of break for the Army. I was still in the Army during Pippin, but
I just want to stop you for 1 second there. If anybody's watching this that is going into the Army, theater is still around afterwards. So if you go into the Army, don't worry. It's fine. Take those few years, you come back, and it's still going to be there for you. So please come and join the community again.
That's true. I took about 3 years off, and then I was sort of half in it for 2 years, and I'm back, and it was still here. Anyway, so what I was going to say, also the last two productions that I was still in the Army, and then also Chicago, when I was studying like 24/7, I was mostly involved during the show, during the like run of the show itself, and less during rehearsal. So there was a lot of things that I used to do that like during the rehearsal process and getting things ready and just running like technical aspects of rehearsal that I haven't been doing the last few years. But I'll share an insight that I had having the Chicago run just now during my Tqufat Mivchanim, the tests in university, is that for me the shows are very much like a test. Like you prepare as much as you can before, you have everything that you have to get through, and then the show starts and it's coming at you, and you have a deadline, and whatever happens, you have to deal with it in the amount of time that you have. And if you don't manage, you move on to the next thing. So that's one aspect of stage managing.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think, I stage managed a bunch in the States before, when I was in high school. And it's interesting. It looks very different here in the community here. I think in general, the way that our community works, there's a lot fewer lines. Like there's a lot more gray area in terms of what you do in a show and like what your title is and what that actually entails. I think being part of community theater, it's you're part of a community. And so you see what needs to get done and you kind of do it, or you find someone else to do it. And I found that for me, stage managing here, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of coordination, and you're making sure that things are happening. And if they're not happening by someone else, then like you're picking up that slack and you're making it happen, because the director and the choreographer are busy directing and choreographing, and so it really, all the other things fall onto your shoulders. And I know, Elianna, as you said, you've been doing a lot of the like from the run on. I've been doing a lot of the pre-run stuff, even when I was stage managing for Assassins. So I came in about a month and a half or 2 months before the run started. They were like full, UCB, you were in it. So and you guys were like full in. You guys were full into like running the show already. And so that was, I came in as the stage manager suddenly, not from the beginning, which was very strange for me, because every other time I've stage managed, it's been from the audition process. Like I've been in the room with auditions. I've, helped coordinate with those things. And so it was interesting to kind of find the voice. I like to call it my teacher voice. It is the same one I use with 5-year-olds, or I used to use with 5-year-olds when I used to be a gun in it. And I think it's just about, establishing the authority, making sure that the actors and the other people on crew know that they can rely on you, and that you're there as like a stable person if they need anything, like they know who to come to and who to ask. I think that helps everything run so much smoother. Even if you don't have the answer, like that's, we deal with that on our end, but it puts everyone else at ease. And so that's been a big aspect of stage managing for me, and like just general tech work for me in the community here.
Awesome.
Good point. Also, wait, can I say about that?
Sure.
That you were talking about starting from the beginning of the process. I think that was also something that I've been experiencing differently now, coming into the process later. So most of my theater experience was during high school. I was really there for every little bit of it. And I felt like there was that connection with the cast, and like I wasn't a cast member, but I was part of the cast, part of the group. And then you already have that connection and trust and authority when you get to the show. So it's been different coming in, like with Pippin, where there were people who I didn't even know. Like I met them at the dress rehearsal or the last few rehearsals. And then like I had to find that authority to like know that they should listen to what I say, and I had to know what to expect of them and what kind of person they are and what kind of actor they are. And it's different. So I think being there from the beginning of the process definitely has advantages.
All right. I definitely understand that. Being as Abby came in, I didn't know you yet when you came to work with us in Assassins. So I totally hear that. I just want to point out also that Atar Mayer sends her love. So now that you guys, you talked about how like you calm people and you make sure to like get to the next steps if you need to manage it and whatnot. With what we're dealing with today, I mean, I just saw a really, really awesome production that the Public Theater did. That's online. It's on YouTube. It's called "What Are We Going to Talk About?" or "What Are We Talking About?" By Richard Nelson. And it's an hour. It's really not that long because it's all on Zoom. And I don't think it's going to be done any other place. It's on Zoom. It's on YouTube. It can be watched for free. And his idea was to basically create a whole entire new production based on what we're dealing with now, social distancing. And I just want to know, as you guys have worked stage managing and backstage, and it's very different from live theater, but what do you guys think? I mean, I'm gonna write a blog this week. I'm hoping about my predictions about what theater will look like in the next year or so. What do you guys think will be different for that role? Can it be called stage managing? Is it? We actually created a name called Zoom Manager or Screen Manager when we did the Yom HaShoah reading. But I wanted to throw that out to you to ask you, like, based on your experience in the theater and where you've been, where do you think that things might be going towards as we continue through this social distancing era, with all the easing of these restrictions still? Do you think that theater will have a different way of being theatrical? It's hard to put in these words. There's all these new terms that I'm trying to come up with.
I think it's interesting because I'm not sure. I really don't know if I would equate, a Zoom manager or a Zoom facilitator and a stage manager. I think some of the things will still be possible for stage management, like being there for the cast behind the scenes, a little like psychologist-esque, which I definitely have done in my work with the community theater here, being a sounding board, facilitating off screen and things like that. I think those will still be around. But like stage management in a run, I don't really know how possible that is on a Zoom call. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think actors are going to have to become a lot more self-sufficient and learn a lot more about those different technical aspects in order to do their own thing. And then, depending on if it's streamed live, so that's going to look very different than if it's a Zoom call that then is edited and cut together later and posted. Then you're going to have editors and things who are kind of taking on a little bit of that stage management role. But I think it's going to look very, very different with very little overlap, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if we were talking about the different hats that a stage manager wears, then like some of them still will be required, but the main one won't. So maybe it would be better, or maybe it'll happen that other people will just take on those roles.
Okay, so
I think it would look more like a production manager versus a stage manager.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and those are I mean, within our community, that's a gray line. In some of the theater companies, where the stage manager ends up being taking on that role of production manager, and it's not really two separate people.
Although I think that's also very personal, sort of also with the evolution of the theater groups and the theater companies, sort of who was doing what job when and how much they took on themselves.
Right.
And then if it just got passed down as like that's the way it's done, even though it was because a specific person did it.
Definitely, and we're evolving here with how we're creating theater now. So Eli is giving you permission to tell a story about how he's made your lives crazy, I believe. And David Gelman wanted to know if there's any times that actors, let me see if I could.
Ooh, we're like just gonna spill all the tea. Is that what's happening? All right.
I don't know what I'm trying to see. He has a whole thread, and I'm trying to see what he wrote. He wrote like a whole thing, but basically he's giving me permission to just like, say crazy stories. And David Gelman asked, what kinds of things are there that actors, when they try to help you out, but actually are just annoyances, and it would be better if they just stayed away from you. So if they feel like they're helping, but maybe they're not so much, like maybe now is a good time to let everyone know what they shouldn't be asking to do.
I have specific examples, but I'm trying to put it into like a general rule.
To like not call anyone out. The truth is, a lot of the things that I'm thinking about, I have experienced from different people. So it's like not a singular thing. I would say For me, one of the biggest ones in the last few productions that I've worked with is actors coming and asking a question that's clearly been addressed multiple times right when your hands are full with something else. That is like a really hard one because, you know, if you come up to stage manager or production manager and they look like they're clearly in the middle of something, that is not the time to ask questions to them for really anything at all. I had that this year with Chicago, making a very last minute prop. And, you know, we were like an hour to curtain and I was like making the prop. And suddenly I was getting all these questions that were like really not like dahoof things. And so that was a personal struggle for me because it was, you know, I was stressed and had to be in the moment doing this thing, but also, you know, not taking it out on the actors an hour before curtains and stressing them out. So that was a very hard balance. I'm not sure I was the most successful at that. But that's definitely something, or also anytime the actors touch the props table once it's been set.
Yes.
I know, you know, you're trying to help, you know, make things more accessible, or you need to access a prop and it's not in the right spot. And, you know, you think you're helping by putting it in the right spot. It doesn't help because then inevitably we go back and suddenly the props are in different places and we have to re-inventory everything and make sure that nothing's
or they were there because an actor was going to take it while they went on stage and now it's not in the right place.
Yes,
exactly.
That's like
that happens a lot,
yeah.
You know, and we always talk about like don't touch other people's props, but I think the same really goes like even for your own props. If they've been set somewhere specific before curtain, like don't touch them again unless you've spoken to, you know, whatever person is managing that wing. Because we've definitely had this where props have gone missing. We thought they were there, then they weren't there. And then that's you know, mid-run, you're trying to cobble together something to take on stage in the hopes that no one's gonna really notice.
That's like the number one thing I think people should, if anybody gets anything out of this this Zoom call, it's don't touch anybody else's props. Don't touch your own. Let it be where it needs to be, and that's it. Like trust that system.
Yeah, I was gonna add it's similar to what Abby said, but also like if you brought an issue to us, then trust us enough that we're going to get to it. And if we didn't yet, it's because there's a million other things to do and we decided what was more important. So if you remind us again and again of the same thing, like it's not gonna happen. I think I've gotten pretty good at like sort of in a nice way, filtering out filtering out what like if someone says something to me and I don't even have the brain space to save that to write down later, I'll tell them, tell me in 5 minutes, or tell me some other time, or, you know, sort of like having that immediate triage of what it didn't even make it into my ear, or it's in there, I'll deal with it later, or it's important, I can deal with it now. But yeah, basically just trusting that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think also the other big one I've noticed from actors, and it's like one of those double-edged swords where like it's really a nice thing that they're doing, but it's also kind of the worst, is when actors come up and they're like, what can I do to help? And they're clearly not ready to go on. First and foremost, like the most helpful thing that you can do as an actor is to get yourself ready. It's like on an airplane, like oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on anyone else, because I've had that before where, you know, actors have been, oh, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And then suddenly we're, you know, 10 minutes to curtain and they're not ready because they've been running around helping everyone else. And as nice as it is to help your cast, like you have to get yourself ready first. I think the other one also,
opposite side of that same coin is that when we need you, when it's not volunteering to help, but we need you for sound check, for example, then it doesn't matter that you're in the middle of your makeup or hair or whatever. Just come, do sound check, get it over with. There are schedules that aren't so viv any particular actor, and yeah.
Yeah.
We could go on and on about
Yeah,
this.
I know.
Yeah.
But I
I was
think
gonna say,
we're gonna end in a few minutes. I just want to thank Sandy Cash for watching, Marty Wiesel, Danny Friedman's watching, Aviva Wiesel, David Gelman, and Atara Mayer. By the way, I just figured out how to see who's watching, so I didn't know how to do that before, but now I did. So there we go. So thanks, guys. And Ali, I think, was also watching. Let's end off. Maybe he's allowing you to tell a funny story. I don't know why you could say funny things that directors have, worked with you. So Ali, Ellie, I don't know, Layla, whoever you've worked with, if you have a funny story to share for this last few minutes, and then I'm going to do the roll call of who's joining us this week. So if you don't have anything, that's great. I mean, you guys have been amazing.
I don't know if it paints Ellie in a great light. Seriously, it's it was actually something I was just thinking about that happened in Chicago, which was on the last show. There was one moment where I was supposed to bring up a bar, and I literally don't know where my head was at. I did a different change, I pressed a different button, and that was fine. And then I was supposed to press that button, but I was just gone. And I had the headset on, and I was just sort of like thinking my thoughts, I guess. And Eli, I guess, trusted me enough to think that there was some reason that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And then after a while, he was like, Elianna, isn't that supposed to go up?
I will say having clear comms this year was a game changer.
Amazing.
Loved it.
I'm waiting years for it.
Having what?
Clear comms. So we, Bitch Noel has terrible cell reception.
Yeah.
And so in previous years, we've had to we get from the front of house, tell actors 5 minutes to places. I personally don't usually get that text message until we're 20 minutes into the show. It's happened multiple times, or someone's mic has randomly turned itself off. And so because cell reception is so bad, this year we had clear comms so we could communicate with each other over, and we didn't have to rely on our cell phones, which was amazing. And Elianna and I were able to communicate, wing to wing across. And
I'm sure the conversations you guys were having with each other were the funniest things sometimes.
That's what I just opened my phone because we did this a couple times at cast parties, reading funny messages between the backstage people during cast parties. I'm going to see if there's anything interesting in here.
Okay, well, Elianna was looking for that. I don't know if we had
so much this year.
What?
Yeah, I'd say on the clear comms this year was a lot of, are you on? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Is it on?
On that note, if everybody could hear me, thank you for joining us with Jet Live. Well, Elianna is looking for some fun little anecdote from all their messages. Tomorrow at 8 p.m., we have Marty Wiesel joining us of Jet Venues. Then on Tuesday, myself and actually Dina is going to join me, maybe Leah Rose as well, with Daniel Lewin and Bracha Daniel Lewin. Wait, yes, exactly. That's going to be at 2 p.m. And then Wednesday, we have at 2 p.m., Marnie Shamroth will be joining us. And then in the evening at 8, we'll have the Kaufmans, Aryeh and Eleanor. It's a long list. So excited. And then on Thursday, we've got at 2, Hanan Lieberman, an encore mainstay, if that's the right word. And he's been doing some awesome shower. He did it twice, awesome shower concerts. He would get in the shower and use his shower head as a microphone. It was beautiful. And then that evening at 8, Gadi Zeig is going to be joining us, who was Sunny in The Heights. And he's done a couple other roles. So that's the lineup for this week so far. We've got some awesome guests coming up next week as well, and in 2 weeks. If you want to join us on Jet Live, be one of the interviewees, please contact me.
You have nothing to say.
You don't have anything to say?
I said, even if you think you have nothing to say.
Even if you think you have nothing to say, yes, we were actually talking about that beforehand. Even if you think you have nothing to say, you think you have nothing to contribute, this is about the community. It's about seeing your friends, your castmates, your directors, your stage managers. There's a bunch of other stage managers that have done tons. There's been hundreds and hundreds of shows in Jerusalem. So please contact me. We're going to be doing this for as long as we need to, or can, or want to. So, and there's a long list of people. If I haven't contacted you, please feel free to contact me. And Elianna, have you found any cool text quotes to end us off?
No, I think most of the funny things were on the ClearCom this year.
Okay.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, lost in translation. All right. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Elianna, for joining us.
Thank you.
Joining me today. And we'll see you again on Jet Live shortly. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.